Hello everybody, my name is GuruGodX, and this is, what do I want to call this? What, Guru God Reviews? I guess, Guru God's First Impressions? I'm gonna be doing this to more MMOs that I'm better acquainted with, so this is definitely more of a first impressions video, but at the same time it is a pseudo-review for what I feel like what Rift is doing right or wrong. And yeah, it's of Rift, if you couldn't tell. I mean, it's kind of obvious to tell. It's you clicked on it. I'm not gonna hide it. Anyway, yeah, it's about Rift, and one of the first things I want to talk about Rift is the general feel of it. I like the feel of Rift, and I guess that comes with a personal preference and maybe background. I am a vanilla WoW player. I have played vanilla WoW, but I'm not like most other vanilla WoW players that are like, oh, I want the game hard and grindy, and oh, I just love having my life wasted away on numbers. Not that kind of person. Play I play to have fun, and for a long time, raiding was my fun. Perfectly understandable. I raid in WoW for fun. I get better gear to raid to have fun. Don't really get better gear to raid to get better gear. That seems counterintuitive. Anyway, enough of my history aside. I like the feel of Rift. At least the first 20 levels. So it's like the first zone, Silverwood, I think it was. I'm Guardian. I choose Guardian because I felt like the Defilers were kind of a bunch of pricks. Sorry, any hardcore Defiler fans out there, but from what I could tell, you guys are kind of dicks to everybody. And not saying that Guardians aren't aren't either. I'm not gonna try to feign ignorance on that. It's just, like the Ale4s or whatever. They dick everybody. I don't. I can't really get behind Defilers. But enough of that. Enough of that kind of faction preferencing aside. The feel of Rift is kind of important because it sort of flashbacks me as a vanilla WoW player to sort of the vanilla era of WoW, yet it keeps all of the convenience things that WoW has to this day. It keeps, they have an LFD looking for dungeon finder. They have they have, oh god, I don't know. They have fast travel system. They have a lot of things that WoW currently has, minus flight, which is something I'm salty about. Flight when it comes to WoW, and it comes to a lot of MMOs. I'm not gonna innately hate MMO that doesn't have the ability to fly in it, but I am going to pitch a fit and annoyance when an MMO tries to take flight out of its game. But that's another story for another review that I'm planning on doing. So look forward to that and mark your calendars, because if you ever want to hear me bash WoW, that would be the one you'd want to watch. Continuing on, yeah, the feel of Rift. It has all the conveniences of a modern age MMO. The graphics are beautiful, they're stunning, really immersive. The animations are rather fluid, I want to say. There are sometimes some animations are kind of glitchy, or some of them are samey. Like I know for your basic attack, usually it's like my 1 key. It looks exactly the same as your auto attack, but that's kind of understandable because I think auto attacks as a system are kind of old and archaic in general, and I think every melee class should just have auto attacks completely removed from them, and then just a 10% damage buff for all damage added to them. Just to remove in general auto attacks and just roll all auto attack based procs to just happen on a quote unquote basic attack that the player has to actually use. Because I think auto attacks are boring.
But again, that's probably for another video, but it does apply here because it is an auto attack based game, just like WoW, but not like Guild Wars 2. Huh. Also, I think Final Fantasy had 14. Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn has auto attacks. Pretty sure they do. It's been like a month and a half since I played that game, and I mostly just saw my numbers. Anyway, another thing I like about Rift is its UI is just beautiful. Is everything a raider? Coming from a raider experience, I need to have my UI, my user interface, custom, completely custom. If it's not custom, I have to make it custom. And usually, like in WoW, for example, I achieve that through mods. Rift, on the other hand, kind of takes it a step further, by having baseline user interface moving and just customability, that's a word. User interface customability right in the game. Like, you don't need an add-on, and there are add-ons for Rift, which is even better. You can move the UI around, you can scale the UI, you can screw with nameplates to an nth of a degree. You can do a lot with the Rift engine. I think it's beautiful. Adds so much to the game, and it's really simple. Especially when you have, like, for example, for key bindings. Instead of having to go in there under bar 9 of and key 7 on bar 9, of which you don't know which way bar 9 is running, whether it's 1 from the bottom or 1 from the top or 1 from left or 1 from right, and then be able to put a key there. Whereas with Rift or with Bartender, for example, a Bartender 4 add-on in WoW, you just hover over the key on your key on you hover over the slot in the bar, and you press your keybind, it'll automatically macro that keybind to that slot on the bar. That is perfect, and it is baseline in Rift. It is a very, very beautiful thing, and it's very, I guess it's very underrated kind of thing, but that's something that should be praised. An MMO that gives full UI customizability? Yeah, customizability. The MMO that gives full UI customizability is something that should be heralded as glorious. Especially at the level of customization that Rift has. But moving on from that, I feel like I've spent enough time harping about customizability. Rift's story early on, I guess, is kind of weak. Like I said, I did the starter zone, the Guardian starter zone, about 6 times because I wanted to get a feel for what the classes did, and I didn't really want to play Defiler. I don't know why. I guess I was kind of really tired that night, so I just kept kind of making high elf characters because high elf racial is OP. I'll comment more about high elf racial, but for now I'll leave it at that. Kind of thirsty. Oh no, don't have water. The story feels kind of weak. Like, as Guardian, you are chosen ascendant of the gods, and you're supposed to go around, you're supposed to prevent the evil of the dragon guys, but also deal with the Defiler guys, and then the Defiler guys brought the dragon guys? I'm not really getting it. It's not really that clear. It seems like the evil king guy, of whose name escapes me to this day, evil king guy, didn't, got really salty after getting just, like, butt fucked by a rebellion and opened all these rifts using technology. And it's like technology the Defilers have too, so the Defilers are with Evil King Guy, but they're not. Not really expanded much, because on the Guardian side, you don't really differentiate between a Defiler and a servant of the evil dragon things. They're kind of the same to you in terms of, oh, I just murder them. There's no real impact, and that's the kind of thing is, you kind of should differentiate between
the separate faction and the uh, just the enemy of everybody, and that's something actually WoW has an issue with. It has a problem separating the experience of killing a person from the different faction that's there. You killed someone from a different faction, and regardless if it was NPC or player, and killing just a random servant of God X or something. And I think that's my only complaint about the story, is it kind of, it kind of drags you on. Like, Silverwood didn't feel that impressive in terms of story. I liked some of the college, the mage college, whatever, the college, the chain quests in there. I felt that they were fun. Damn it. I recorded this right after I did my vlog. Vlog. Yeah, and it's like 4 a.m. and I'm starting to get really weary. But I'm gonna power through this. I got it. I got like 4 or 5 more talking points, so yeah, it's only gonna be like a 30-minute long video. Overall, story is okay. I'm not gonna go here and start speaking for zones I haven't done yet myself, even though I've heard some of them can be good or might not be very good. Whatever, I'm gonna do them myself. I'm only level 20, so again, I just want to reiterate, not seen the whole game yet. This is just first impressions. Things. Let's see. Oh, classes and talent trees. Yes. This is something I like a lot. And not for the reasons you'd think I'd like it. I like the base class system because, rogue, stabby, mage, magic, cleric, heal. And then warrior, smash. Except, it does a twist on things and makes it to where you can DPS as a cleric. Or pretty soon, apparently, you'll be able to heal as a rogue. Or support as a mage. And that kind of shit. And it's just like, whoa. Calm the fuck down, game. Rogue's chucking his daggers at me, healing me. I don't get it. Even though you already have Bard, which already kind of just plays music and makes people heal, sorta. Which I did play Bard. The Virtuoso, the standard build for Virtuoso, because, let's face it, it's kind of low level shit. Doesn't really matter, right? I liked playing Bard, but I really fell in love with the Holy Fire Shaman build for Cleric, because you are immortal. Like, really? Holy Fire Shaman build is, soloing, you just don't die. Even against, major death rifts, it's really hard for you to die. I know I had major death rifts, major rifts in general. For my first major rift that I recorded this in the stock footage was my first major rift was a death rift, and the stuff hit hard, yeah, but I was able to just counter it. I was able, because the instant heals, the absorbs, the reflect damage that you did, the thorns, if you're any kind of a Diablo fan, it was ridiculous, and you were just able to put out consistent DPS as well, so that just kind of made you OP at soloing, but like it says in the description, it's kind of lacking for groups, which is understandable, but there are specs that are good for groups for clerics, so it's not like I'm incapable of switching to, Druidicar or something to become decent in a group setting. In terms of DPS, I could very well just go heal on a cleric and be decent, or go tank. Which brings me on to the second point. They have dual spec in Rift, but a million times better. If you're any kind of familiar with WoW, you have this ability for your class to be able to have one spec, one specialization for your class, and then with dual spec, you're able to have 2 specializations. Well, Rift has the ability where you have roles, and you're able to have multiple roles to the point you can have as many
roles as you want. I saw the tutorial video and there was like 8 different roles. And I was like, that's insane. It's like 8 octa-spec. And that impressed me because I like screwing around with different specs and having a heal spec, a tank spec, a solo spec, a dungeon spec, a raid spec, that kind of stuff. Because I'm kind of a min-maxer when it comes to these things. Or like a solo raid boss spec. Like, for example, in WoW, say for example I rolled Blood Death Knight and I was going to go solo Yogg-Saron, maybe my build was going to be like completely different. Another thing I like about their talent in talent trees is they are a combination of the old WoW talent tree system, the really big, bulky trees, the soul trees, and also they're a combination of the current WoW system, which is kind of refined and sort of choice-oriented, even though there's no actual choice in the WoW talent system as current. I'll get more to that in the actual WoW video. But basically, every time you can put points into your soul tree, and when you put a certain number, you can't put more points than your current maximum level into your soul tree. So if you're level 21, you can only put 21 points into X tree, but you'll always have more than 21 points to spend, so you're forced to spend points into the other two soul trees that you have. And then you have the tree roots on each different tree. There are the tree roots, and and then whenever you spend a certain amount of points in the tree itself, you unlock different active abilities or spells in the roots. So, like at level 8, when you spend 18 points in this tree spec, you get this ability, and it kind of just changes the way you play a little bit. Like, you get like Massive Blow or something for Holy Fire Shaman. And I like that. I like that a lot. I think it's a lot better than the old WoW talent trees where you just go the cookie cutter spec. I mean, this is the kind of same thing. People go the cookie cutter specs, the ones that are really good. But see, and I should talk about this more in the WoW video, but I gotta make a comparison. The current WoW talent tree system, where they just have 3 different talents and 4 different tiers of talents, so you get 3 different talents per tier, and you get to choose which one you want. That's the same exact thing as their old cookie cutter kind of spec, except you change it, like, you go either the default that feels best for you, quote unquote, best to your playstyle, or you go for the default best that's just best for DPS, and you change like 1 or 2 talents in maybe 1 or 2 fights in an entire tier content patch. Like, for example, when I was raiding on my monk during early Siege of Orgrimmar, whenever I was progressing raiding that, the only time I ever changed a talent on my monk was for Garrosh and Spoils of Pandaria, and that would be to change out Suen for Rushing Jadewind. That's it. There was no other point where it would have been beneficial to me or my raid group for me to have switched out another talent for anything else. It's structured, it's rigid, you do what you want. And not even do what you want, you do what's best, or you go home. And that's how it's always been. And the main reasons why the new talent trees in WoW are the way they are is because they wanted to remove the whole cookie cutter spec, even though they're just still instigating it on there being such blatant differences between each talent. So that's the compare and contrast there, is in Rift, you just get these abilities, and it is like the cookie cutter old specs, but that's not to confuse WoW's old cookie cutter specs being starkly different from WoW's new cookie cutter specs. They're still the same thing. WoW just trimmed a lot of the fat in order to just give you the illusion of choice, where Rift says, middle finger to that, we're just gonna give you the fat and the stuff,
and you do what you want with it. And there have been some very, very creative builds with that kind of mindset. Okay, so I think I've talked about classes enough. The 2 classes I played. I'm gonna touch a little bit on mounts, because I've just got a mount, but I've seen some of their store mounts, and whoa. I got my first 60% mount, and I have to say that 60% mount is slow as absolute balls. I mean, slow. It's faster than running, but it's still slow. I feel the 60%. I'm like, oh god, it's vanilla WoW again. I'm level 40 and I have a 60% mount. Oh god. But I mean, I got it as soon as I got to platinum, 50 gold, which was rather quick. And apparently there's a couple of zone events where you can just get rewarded mounts, according to my brother. So there's that. He's been playing Rift with me. But there's mounts that go all the way up to 150% ground speed, and I think that is a fucking phenomenal idea. In a game that's as big as Rift, and while it does have instantaneous flight path teleports, kind of like Guild Wars 2, except it'd be like if there was Azura gates everywhere in Guild Wars 2 instead of there being waypoints everywhere. It'd be like that. And then you also having 150% mounts, which I think is a much better idea than what WoW is doing, which is, oh yeah, we're going to remove flying and then make the game around 100% mounts. See, I keep referencing WoW in this video because I'm still peeved at it, and I haven't really let out my aggression about it in a video reviewing WoW. So I'm probably going to get all that out tomorrow whenever I go to record that. Or, yeah, record it, and I'm probably going to record a bunch of stock footage about that tomorrow during the day. But, yeah, as you can tell, I'm kind of salty about WoW, and with good reason. So, I'll get more about that, and I'll continue telling you the good things I have to say about Rift. Though, I do have some constructive criticism. The fucking mount animations. I mean, really. I saw this lizard that my brother was on. That thing looked like it was floating on the ground when it walked. Like, it looked like it had flippers and was just, like, using those flippers to just, like, articulate floating like a hovercraft on the ground, even though it was a ground mount. It was ridiculous. Somebody needs to fucking learn how to animate. That's like my only criticism for that in the mount section is just like, wow. On the topic of movement speed though, something I mentioned earlier, who the fuck was thinking about movement racials whenever they were making this game? I'm dead serious right now. Who thought up the racials in this game? Because if you don't roll High Elf or Elf War, you are fucking dumb. Like, it is just, you're stupid for not rolling those 2 things because of their 15-second heroic leap. Like I said, it's an out of combat 15-second cooldown jump where you just leap forward on angelic wings, or I assume on Elf War it's like corrupted viney wings, whatever. But on High Elf, you leap forward on angelic wings 30 yards or meters, and it's fucking 15-second cooldown, and the only drawback is you can't use it while in combat. There's nothing about it that says you can't use it to initiate combat. Like, for example, gap closing on a melee class, or just pure movement on a archer/bard or whatever. It's ridiculous how good that is compared to the human racial, which is a 2-minute cooldown, 50% movement increase that's lasts I think, what was it, 7 seconds? That is garbage. I could cover that in 2 30-second in 2 jumps of each other, where he's like, I could cover the distance, cover that 50% in 2 jumps. So, and the dwarf one isn't even worth mentioning. God, dwarf racial is garbage. It's like, out of combat, you sit down, you restore 7% of your health and mana over a certain amount of seconds, which would be good if food just didn't exist in the game. Like, if food didn't exist, dwarf racial might be considered decent, especially if things actually, hit decently hard. But it's you have food and you have water and wow. High elf racial is dumb. Straight up, high elf racial is the dumbest in this game. So I'll leave it at that. It is just needs like 10 all of the nerfs, 10 gajillion nerfs. I was gonna talk about active zone events and rifts. That's what I was gonna talk about next. I liked the Guild Wars 2 feel about active events in the zones. The random world active events of, like, say, for example, in Silverwood, the Behemoth general kind of thing that runs around and is basically a giant dick to everybody. That was fun. Brutal, but fun. It wasn't, it one-shot me 3 times. I got down to like 50% soul vitality. But it was fun, and there was this fire invasion where a bunch of fire bosses had spawned. We have to close a bunch of fire rifts and destroy a certain amount of fire invaders. That was cool, and I had seen that being done before in Guild Wars 2, but I didn't see it to that level of just complexity, where you had multiple places of interest of things you wanted to keep being attacked by stuff, of bosses being randomly summoned in certain rifts and you having to run over to that boss. Guild Wars 2 was a good start about that. Rift does it just a little better, I think. Though I think some of the bosses are cheesy as dick. Like, one of the fire bosses literally had a buff that he would constantly put on himself that would damage anyone that attacked him for like 6 damage, and I was playing on my Virtuoso, my bard, and I was trying to heal everybody because the raid group didn't have a healer, so I was trying to heal people, and every time I damage him, I heal, but I would also take the damage from the stupid little fire shield. So I'd be end up just basically killing myself, but keeping everybody else alive, and just dying constantly. That was not very fun. Another thing I like about it is, I think it does way better than Guild Wars 2, is the local public group system. We're able to join a public group, join together in a public raid, and be able to group up and be able to see nameplates and see raid frames and heal and tank and all that kind of stuff, without having to just spam invite people. It just automatically groups people together. That's fucking fantastic. I don't even know why WoW doesn't do that. For a fucking world boss like Celestials or something like that. I don't even know why WoW doesn't do that. It's a fucking brilliant thing right there. And I really wanted to talk about this, but I really don't want to talk about this because it's gonna sound really cheesy and corny. And it also kind of has to do with why I kind of pissed off at WoW 2. But I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna say it. I'm talking about Dimensions. They are probably what sold me about this game. They are probably what put just everything about this game into my mind. Dimensions are the housing system. Is the housing system of Rift. And basically what it is you get there's 2 things I want to discuss about it. One is how available it is, and 2, the level of depth and customizability. First of all, it's availableness. It's God, what was the word I just used? It's you're able to get it really early in the game. You get your first rift at level you get your first dimension at level 10. That's beautiful. Your first dimension at level fucking 10? In Final Fantasy XIV, you need like 10 billion gillion gold. Gillion gold? Gillion gil. 10 billion gillion gil in order to get any kind of housing, and that's for your silly ass guild. So you have your silly ass guild level 10 or 6. No, it's 6. Yeah. To get your silly ass guild level 6, and that's not only a dick rip, but just getting level 6 is a dick rip. Let alone getting the 10 billion gillion gil. A group of people can do it, but myself, my brother, I like spent 3 weekends hardcore farming mithril, silver, and all that kind of stuff because I zerged miner to 50 as soon as I got my paladin to 50 in that game, and I only made 1,000,000 gil. And at the time when they were coming out with housing, it was, I think it was just like right at 2.1. The small houses were like 25 million gil. Like, there's no fucking way that people can afford this, you know? So already, Rift gets just a amazing thing for availability, because not only do you get your first dimension free, you get it so early in the game. Like, I was thinking Dimensions was gonna be fucking, oh, you have to reach level 70 Supreme Ultra Premium buying this with buyer's remorse. No, you get it right there, you know? And, like coming from WoW, for example, you get your garrison thing, you'll be able to get that early in your time playing over in Warlords of Draenor, what they say. But it's, you still have to cut your swath through the other 90 levels, or get buyer's remorse and pay $60 for an insta 90. So you have your kind of choices there. But yeah, as far as accessibility goes, Rift has it. Rift has that. Like, you want the house, you got it. The second thing I want to talk about is just the level of detail in customization. And, oh god. The level of detail rivals that of The Sims. Rivals Halgary's mod. In just the ability to customize. And hell, it's actually kind of it's more comparable to Gary's mod than it is to any other MMO's housing system. Because, like in Gary's mod, for example, you have different maps that you can have, and you have different dimension settings, I should say. Like, the first dimension you get is a kind of a cliffside view of this wonderful ocean sunset, and it's beautiful, I wouldn't expect that for a first dimension. But apparently there are other dimensions that you can get, and you can have active dimensions, and you can have multiple active dimensions at once, and it's kind of a cool system. Well, that's comparable to Gary's mod, because you have different maps and whatnot where you load stuff in. Gary's mod, you can load stuff in, you can scale it, you can move it, you can twist it, you can bop it. Bop it! In Rift Dimensions, you can do all of that. You can levitate something, you can twist it, you can move it, you can scale it, you can go up and down. I might have to go record some footage of me actually doing some of that stuff in Rift just to be able to show it at this part, because it is that amazing. Rift Dimensions is just so beautiful. It is the pinnacle of modern day MMO housing, and it should be treated as such. The only downside I could ever possibly be seeing towards these Rift Dimensions is the fact that they are in their own little instance. And even then, you have local RP dimensions where you have people who would set up taverns for roleplay. Because I play on Fable, I play on the roleplay server. When they set up roleplay, you have guild dimensions, you have all these things. I've never been one person to see what the appeal of having your house in the game world be. Because I've been more of, why don't you just put it behind a instance that's phased toward everybody and leave it at that. I've always been that kind of person when it comes to housing, because I feel like that's the only way to do housing. Because every every other way to do housing either ends in a bunch of people getting salty about not being able to get housing because all the housing slots are filled up, or housing being extremely inaccessible to just the average player in general, or housing being just a gank fest of people coming in, raiding your shit, just fucking your shit up, and then leaving. So that's why I've always been against the whole, oh, you get to build your house in the game world. It's never appealed to me personally, and I think every MMO that tries to use it as a reason to not make housing, wow, is idiotic. And that's not to say Garrisons isn't instance, because it very well is. It's instance and phased, but that's again another conversation for the other video, which I'm going to be doing. I will say, however, Dimensions is a beautiful thing. I think it's probably like 40% why I love this game so much. I'd say like 20% is the feel, 30% is the class trees, and I don't know, like 30% nostalgia. That's like what? That's totally not 100%, it's like 110%, but I don't care. Dimensions is a huge chunk as to why I really like Rift. And it's the reason why I'm really into playing it right now. I stopped playing Final Fantasy because I felt like I was getting on the grind train, like I was with WoW, and I'll probably stop playing Rift for the same reasons, because I feel like the end game is gonna get super gear grindy really quick, and I don't know yet. I'm completely oblivious. I've not read any forum posts about endgame at the moment, but it very well could end up in that. So I might release another video saying the reasons why I stopped playing Rift when I do stop playing Rift. But I guess until then, I've been GuruGodX, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Oh wow, 37 minutes. Not bad. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.